America is Babylon. Babylon fell. It was race mixed, culture mixed, language mixed, and it had only three things in common: sex, commerce, and the worship of the devil through a false religion. Catholicism, Islam, New Age, I don't care what you call it. It's all a false, Canaanite, satanic, Christ-rejecting, Bible-hating religion, which includes Orthodox Judaism. No, we need our own new nation. White men. We need to stop being victimized, not only by the majority savage blacks, and not only by these savage Roman Catholic, Mexican, Latinos that have come in here illegally. They are alien invaders, backed by the papacy, committing crimes everywhere they go. Wanting to fornicate with the white girls? Yeah! That's what it's all about. Same with the savage black. We got to cross that racial line and fornicate with those white girls. That's the ultimate expression of equality and in your face, white man, isn't it? No, we want our own culture. We want our own nation. We don't want to be forcefully race mixed anymore. We don't want to be culture mixed anymore. We want our own schools where we can teach the Bible. If you're a white man, you can't even send your children to public school. They're going to be forcefully race mixed. They're going to be beat up by the savage blacks. They're going to be beat up by the savage Roman Catholic Mexicans. You'll be fortunate if your children make it through school. That's why the majority of white people are taking their children out of public school. And they're beginning to teach them at home. That's why Bill Clinton didn't send Chelsea to the public school down there in D.C. He wanted to keep her virginity, so he kept her at home and sent her to a private school. Why? Is Bill Clinton a racist because he didn't send his white daughter to that savage, majority savage black public school in Washington, D.C.? He wouldn't come out and tell you, I don't want my daughter raped. I don't want her beat up by these savage blacks in Washington, D.C. So he pretends to like the blacks. He pretends to do things for blacks. He pretends like he's good to them by giving them money in Harlem, when he has the utmost contempt for them and would never live around a black man or in a black community. Hypocrite! Jesuit! And anybody like myself who's simply advocating that, hey, we white men need our own place to live. We need a place where we can speak English, where our language is not going to be Africanized and Ebonicized or Latinized, where we want to have a society based upon the maxims of the Bible, where we punish crime and we execute our murderers and we execute anybody involved in a gun crime, where we don't have gun registration, where everybody's carrying, where we have very little police and we have security in ourselves. We want our own nation like we used to have. That's the only solution to this problem, my white brethren. As Jefferson said, the two races, black and whites, equally free, can never live under the same government. Never, never, never. It will always be a tax on the white man to give to the black man. Always. It's been that way for the last 50 years. So we want our own nation. We want the Jesuits out because, you see, it's the Jesuits that are behind this. The Jesuits aren't out to destroy the black man. They're already destroyed. The Jesuits are out to destroy the white Protestant peoples. And they're about destroyed now. So it's time we advocated secession. We want our own nation. Just like the Alaskan, nationalist movement. Is that what it's called? Alaska, certain people in Alaska are calling for secession. I understand that Sarah Palin's husband was a part of that. Good for him. Every red-blooded American white man who wants to have Protestant liberty should right now be advocating secession, no matter where you are. We want to have our own nation once again. We're a series of nations. We don't want all of North America. We just want a portion of North America, and I'll start out with Pennsylvania. I don't want to have any invading policy. I'm not going to go off and conquer other nations and other states. I want to have my own nation where we're white, we speak English, we're Bible-based, we're Baptist and Calvinist, and the only other race that can live among us are the racial Jews. Bring them all to my country. That's right. Now, I'm not talking about those who believe the Talmud. The Talmud's not allowed. But you racial Jews who are looking for a place to go, who are going to be persecuted here shortly in North America, you come to my country. We'll protect you and you can protect yourselves. Now, you're not going to participate in our political elections and so on until you believe the gospel, until you accept the New Testament for maxims of life. But you don't have to be concerned about being rounded up and sent to concentration camps. You can conduct your commerce and trade and we will benefit. That's why I advocate for you Jews in Israel a right to your own land. Why can't Israel be its own nation with only Jews and no Arabs or any white people or anybody else? Because there's no nation on the face of the earth that is historically Protestant and Baptist, and especially any nation that would attempt to be Jewish racially, that could be allowed to exist and have its own government. That would be an effrontery to the Pope. And I'll take it one step farther. There is no black nation on the face of the earth, no group of black people on the face of the earth that can be allowed to have their own nation and govern themselves, because that is an effrontery to the Pope. The black man always must be kept down by the Pope's white power structure that keeps us white folk down. It's the same structure. Do you think Wall Street discriminated against whose money they were stealing last week? Well, that money belongs to a black man there. Or that money belongs to a white man. Of course not! They took it all. Do you think they discriminated between the Roman Catholics who had money there and the Protestant or the Jew that had money? Of course not! They took it all. What we need are nations once again. And what I mean by nations is that we have our own economic policy. Our own economic policy in that, number one, we have our own nation, our own race, language, and culture with geographic boundaries. I don't hate any other nation because they have the right to do the very same thing. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. The biblical principle of nationalism is good for anybody of any race. Then, in our sovereign economics, we are going to have gold and silver coin as our blessed founding fathers initiated in Washington's Republic with our Constitution. We're going to do the same thing they did, because that's honest money. And we will have a very, very limited credit system, only for merchants. No individual will get any credit unless it's privately procured. We will have protection. We will have duties, excises, and imposts administered on our borders, and that any foreign goods brought into this country will be taxed. There will never be, ever, in my new white country somewhere here in North America, there will never be free trade. Never. That damnable Lee Iacocca and the other Knights of Malta approached Bill Clinton, encouraging to ratify the NAFTA agreement, or to sign it into law. We will never have a central bank in my new nation. We will have a series of banks that are regulated by our constitutional government only to the extent that they're going to be honest and they're not going to get involved in a monopoly. There will be limited regulation. There won't be no regulation, God forbid. Can you imagine getting out on the highway in your car and having no rules for the road? It's the same way with the bankers. They have to have rules for doing banking in my country. Limited, but there will be rules. For example, If any banker divulges the account of an account holder, we're going to have the same rule that they have in Austria.